Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast, making a positive difference in learning through innovation.
Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast podcast. Thank you for making us part of your educational journey. I'm Nicole Point.
And I'm Pam Hubler.
And today we're going to talk about the Hour of Code, which is an annual global event. So Hour of Code promotes computer science education in schools and communities. And it's aimed towards demystifying coding and to inspire students, right? We want to still get those teachers integrating coding skills into curriculum and how these skills can enhance logical thinking and problem-solving skills. And if you've ever watched students code, you really see a lot of those problem-solving skills coming out. You know, they try something first. If it doesn't work, they have to keep going back and forth. So we're going to talk about a lot of different unplugged and plugged activities. And of course, there's tons of resources linked in the show notes. So one of the first places we normally go to, Pam, is code.org, right?
Yes.
And we have that linked for you. Code.org has so many different resources. They have them kind of labeled as pre-reader, grades 2 through 5, grades 6 through 8, grades 9 plus. So there's something for every grade level. And the cool thing is when you click on these, they can also share it in different languages. So once you get to the age group you're looking for, and then you click on the activity, it'll tell you which languages they have it in. So I really like that part. Yeah. There's lots of accessibility features too when you get there. You can kind of filter it towards maybe you want some screen readers or text to speech or some keyboard navigation. So make sure when you're there, you look on the left-hand side and one of the filtering options.
They do have some amazing resources, and this is great for year-round. This is not something that you just have to do in December.
Right.
Every year when they have their Hour of Code event. So, yeah, check out the resources. We've got tons in the show notes. So check out the show notes for links, and you can just basically click and play with the plugged activities.
And don't feel like, oh, my students are too little. They probably can't do coding yet, because we've done it in K4 and kindergarten, right?
Yes.
And if you really want to start with some of the basic coding with those little students of yours, tinker.com has lots of very beginner. It walks you through step by step. You can do it whole group, and it's so interactive.
Yes.
And if they cannot read yet, it's fine, because it says, it kind of reads it to you. It's like a storyline. So it's really cool. They have different examples, like a puppy one and a Barbie one.
Space Quest, Dragon Blast. And I do love when you go to tinker.com, Hour of Code, they have the featured ones, and they all look like games. So this is really a great alternative to just the random game sites that kids will find, whether you block them or not.
Right.
Coding puzzles, which are nice, and then they have arcade games, coding projects, which are usually more intermediate. And then you can keep on going, and there's just tons of resources on there.
Right. And so this Hour of Code, if you've never coded with your students, that's a great place to start.
Yes.
And then that's going to open up so many more opportunities for the students to say, hey, oh, wow, I like this. I can do this. Let me see what else is there. So those are some plugged Hour of Code activities.
Was there a certain date range for this one?
Yes, this one starts the week of December 9th.
Okay, December 9th.
For this year, for 2024.
Okay, and there's an event too, right? Can't you technically do, we have a link for if you want to do like an actual Hour of Code event.
Yes.
And you can register and everything. There's lots of resources for you to click on and register, videos of how it works, sharing that you're doing this, like we use social media. So that way, even if you use the hashtag Hour of Code, you can find a lot of people across the world that do the same thing during that week.
Right. And it walks you through step by step how to host an event. And it's not a huge deal. It's just they want to see what you're doing.
Yes.
And then there's even a chance, I think they draw for some like resources to, kind of like a gift card or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for them. So you might get picked.
Yeah, and you can even print certificates when you're done. That'll be fun for the
Yes.
kids.
The kids do enjoy it.
What are some of the other
Talking-
ideas?
So for plugged activities, maybe some of the robotics we have or some of the
yes.
resources we have, like Dash Robot, the Blue Robot. A lot of students like using those. You can go to code.make.wonder. You can go to Blockly, and those things are actually linked in the show notes. Our little Ozo bots, you can do those plugged or unplugged, actually. So if you're interested in the plugged version, that's Ozo Blockly. That's also linked in the show notes. But if you think, hey, you know what, I'd rather try this unplugged, you can also do the color code on paper with markers for Ozo bots.
And microbits too.
Yes.
Since that, anytime you're coding with microbit, you can see JavaScript, you can see the block coding. So it's kind of nice. It could be a good intro, or you can get a little bit deeper.
Right. And Q is similar to Dash. You mentioned JavaScript or block coding. You can also do both types of coding with Q robots as well. And all that's linked in the show notes. And if you're wondering, I want to get my students interested in coding.
Right.
Reach out to some of the parents. A lot of the students, when we go into classes and talk about how we're going to teach them about coding, they'll raise their hand and they'll say, oh, my mom codes or my dad codes. So teachers, reach out and see if there's any parents who can come in as guest speakers to talk about how coding relates to careers and stuff. It'd be interesting for the students to see that as well.
Yes, definitely.
So when we talk about unplugged, Pam, what are we really talking about for coding?
I think that's one of those where you're getting kids used to the idea of coding, and it's almost like giving directions. Because I remember when I was at Daniel Island, one of the things we would do is, the colored squared carpets.
Yeah.
We would literally have one kid stand on one square, put an object at the other side of the rug, and another student would have to tell them which direction to go to get to that object. But you can't just say, go straight. It's like, okay, well, go straight, now what? Turn left. But you're not moving. You are literally just moving your body when you turn left.
Right.
And so every little step. So it's a really good practice in one, giving directions, and then kind of a beginning idea of how, when you are coding, you have to be very specific. Each little step has a code. So that's one of the easiest ways you can start it.
Right. And a lot of people have those carpets.
Yes.
So that's an easy way to start. You can also, I've seen teachers just print out or make papers with like an arrow going forward, an arrow to the side, and you could kind of set those arrows up. Maybe 2 arrows means the child is stepping 2 spots and then turn to the right. So you could do unplugged coding written out like that.
Yeah.
I've seen a librarian, she would read a book. It was really cool. And then she had these magnets on the whiteboard, and they had to code the character in the book to get to, let's say it was a dog getting to the picnic basket or something similar. But they used the different magnets that had arrows and turn signals and stuff on the magnetic board to get there as well.
That's pretty cool. I like that idea.
Yeah. There was another example we were talking about. Play the human robot game. Kind of like what you were saying.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. And there's also the, it's actually from last year, but it's a good link where it's got the unplugged lessons in CS fundamentals, and it has maps, happy loops, move it. There's a lot, and there's a video for each one of these too. And it talks about the concept. So if you want them to practice sequencing or loops or events, and there's lots of different categories that you can look at and then watch the video. And it's pretty easy to just grab these activities and start using them with your kids.
And a lot of the vocabulary that they might see while they're coding on the computer, they can already learn about it. So I do like that.
Yeah, especially there's a lot of sequencing, which is helpful for even if you're not talking about coding. The idea of sequencing is in so many of the standards, especially in elementary school, that you can tie that to other standards outside of computers.
Yes, you can. And of course, when we were looking at plugged and unplugged, we were referring back to code.org or some other places that we could pull information. But we also can't forget about Magic School. And Raina, we were asking Raina, what are some engaging unplugged coding activities, or what are some activities we could do for plugged coding? So make sure, if you're looking for more ideas and more resources that we have in the show notes, go right to Magic School and ask Raina. She's always really helpful. What else? Anything else? We've also have previous episodes
Yes,
linked.
episode 62 was one of the podcasts we had last year. Check that out. There are additional resources in there.
There's also different, not just our podcast, but other people's examples.
Yes.
We have Shake Up Learning, Gearing Up for the Hour of Code.
Yes, and then there's a Control-Alt-Achieve, which is Eric Kurtz's site. He's got Coding with AI for Schools, so a lot of resources there. And then there is from learning.com, there's Unplugged Activities to Teach Computer Programming Principles. Again, more resources. So this is definitely one of those, I feel like this is one of those just awareness of, yes, it's coming. Let's do this. And then, of course, if you want one of your ILCs to come out and participate in one of these activities, we would love to join you.
Yeah, definitely reach out. And if you just don't know where to start, go to code.org and go to the how-tos or the teacher section and narrow it down by your grade level. And there's so many different examples.
Yes, definitely.
And don't be afraid to let your students try this. They'll do great with it.
Yeah.
And if you are doing some coding examples during Hour of Code, definitely, like Pam said, reach out to your ILCs. If we can't be there, if you can at least let us know, send some pictures, tell us what the activity was you did, because we would love to share that out so that other teachers can see what you're doing as well.
And we like shout outs too during the podcast. So
yeah, then we'll be able to shout you out the next time.
And then, of course, don't forget that you can register in Unified Talent to earn PD credit for the Innovation Squadcast. All you have to do is listen to 2 episodes, and then we have a Google form you fill out, so that way you can get credit after you can listen to, well, we're on, 92 episodes? So you got lots of options to go back and listen to.
Yes. All right. Well, there's some great information for you for Hour of Code, and not just during that week of December 9th, but definitely try it out then, and then use it throughout the year and let us know how it went.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Thanks for coming.